there was a question around the biggest learning. And I think the key thing I've just been thinking in the last week is just trying to be more engaging on an empathetic patience like model kind of thing, because and not just with other people but with myself, which is not something that I do very well. I'm not patient with myself generally at all, and I want to hit everything all at once. And then I've had to sit down and just go, you know what, this process is going to be different to any other new start process that you're going to have in life. There's going to be opportunities from that, and you just have to take time with it to get there. And everyone's in the same boat in the world, just not that they've necessarily started something new. So but I think when you get to that point, Sarah, with the role, it's interesting because you have to force yourself out of habits that you have built up over, for me, 20 years working. This is how I get things done, and I know that it works. And now I'm like, it doesn't work now. So now you have to start something new. But yeah, very excited about the day when I do get to actually meet those people in person and say, let's have lunch, and catch up. So yeah.
So I actually have a client who was starting her first day in a role yesterday, and the whole process has been virtual. But she was actually going into an office to meet some of the key players on day one of the new role yesterday. So she has been brought initially for a 6-month contract, but it's interesting. And I think that's right. We often in the past, we have dismissed video technology or phones as not enabling us to give us those deeper connections. And I love the personal connection, but I do think the benefits we're seeing of Zoom, actually being able to see people's faces over and above just a phone call, has made a huge difference as well. And the other point I really want to pick up, just sorry, Paula, really quickly on what Gemma said, it's self-compassion. Is that, as you said, being more patient with yourself. And for me, that's so many people I talk to, it's the empathy for the other people we're working with, but also that compassion for ourselves, that self-compassion. Give yourself a break. We're dealing in a whole new world, and we're hard on ourselves, and we need to cut ourselves some slack about what we can achieve in that whole new world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this has been a sort of a leveling as well. So everyone, like you said, I can't remember who said it, but everyone now is in a very similar boat, and there's an equilibrium, whether you agree with that or not. But it's almost like it's a reset. And I've heard some people say that these meetings on Zoom enables people that didn't have a voice before to have a voice. So these big gregarious characters, and sorry to generalize, Henrik, but they could be men, all of a sudden having to rely on what they say and the way they say it, rather than big, bold character type way that they would physically say something. And also this little chat. So people that wouldn't necessarily want to say something are now put it in a chat, which doesn't happen when you're in a physical meeting, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
So, and what learnings, Rachel, as we wrap up?
You talked about us all being in the same boat, and I think that's true in terms of the distancing. Where I'm noticing a divide is I either know people who are actually trying to fill their days right now because they're not working, and are at home and isolated, and that in itself is a major problem. Or if you're in finance in particular and you are gainfully employed right now, your work tends to go up during these times. And my capacity, I jumped up in probably February because I'm contracting with a practice technician. I still do some other stuff with some smaller companies, and I was at about 120% capacity. I jumped to about 150. I actually had to haul back on that really quickly, which was fine, and that worked, but it was just very much adapting on that front, and then trying to find to my friends who are wanting to catch up during the day because they're bored, which I completely get. Look, I am so jammed right now.
Well, that's right. You and I even had that conversation.
And it's there's actually a real sort of polarity on that one of you're either ridiculously busy right now or desperately trying to fill your days. Even that has forced the self-care compassion issue of, because at the end of the day, at some point something's got to give. And I think giving yourself a break on those things are also starting to break down a few barriers on that.
Well, and again, just touching on it, that Sue and I talked about this morning, that never before have we had to cope with every aspect of what we do at the same time. So if you think about brain, cognitive, using your brain, you think about using your body, you think about using your emotions, and you think about using technology. And we're doing all of those 4 things at the same time every minute of the day. And I mean, no wonder we're frigging tired, right?
Yeah. And I think the boundaries have been, at least that's what I've heard from a lot of people, the boundaries between work and all the other stuff has been a little smudged out with working from home all the time. You end up working 18 hours a day, but just not as effectively as before.
Yeah.
And it starts to be a little bit of a drain, actually, that you're never not really working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a getting used to question as well.
There's a lot of
you get used to it, and then we have to re-enter, and then there'll be another whole heap of challenges where you're having to do half of this and half of that, and it's a hybrid version. You think, oh my god, what am I supposed to be doing?